Hola. Want to dedicate this video to Liam, meu filho. Anybody interested in music? Want to break down a couple more ideas out of this book, The Complete Musician. We're gonna stay in the key of C. So we have and if you number those, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back to your octave, you see. This is an octave. This is your 1, your 7, your 1, your 6, your 1, your 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, back to 1. Your 7th is below it, back to 1. So, I want to explain about intervals first. If you look here, this is what the names of the intervals are for the major scale. From C to C, it's a perfect 1. From C to D, it's a major second. From C to E, it's a major third. From C to F, it's a perfect 4th interval. C to G, it's a perfect 5th. From C to A, it's a major 6th interval. From C to B, it's a major 7th interval. And C to C is a perfect 8th. Now, those are the names of the intervals in the major scale. So it's all major intervals. Major 2, major 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7th, and a perfect 8th. Now, these intervals can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Transformed. You could read the chapter right there, pause it and read it, and it'll break it down a little bit more. But basically, your scale is made up of these intervals, and that's their names. But what I really want to focus on is this, a little ahead, is consonance and dissonance. This is the major scale with a C in the bass. The bottom is a bass clef, F clef, bass clef. Top is a treble clef. It's starting on a C octave. We're calling it a perfect consonance. C on the bass and C on the octave is a perfect consonance. It means it's the most stable. The 8th is dissonance. It means unstable. The A, C to A, is a imperfect consonance. It means it's stable, but not as stable as the perfect consonants of the octave. Then G, your 5th, is also a perfect consonant, also the most stable. EF is dissonant. C to F is a 4th, is a dissonant, unstable. The E is imperfect consonants. So from C to E is it's stable, but it's not as stable as the 5th or the octave. Then you have the 2nd, the D. C to D is a dissonant. It's unstable because it wants to move to the C, which is a perfect consonant. So what I'm trying to explain is that the notes in the scale, they have different values, and the most important ones are the perfect consonants. Those are the most stable. That's your root and octave, and the root and the fifth. So the root and the octave, that's the perfect consonants. Gives you a feeling of stable. It's like a home base. And the root and the fifth is also perfect consonants. Gives you a sense of being stable. The sixth, your A, is an imperfect consonant. It's stable, but it wants to resolve down to the G, the fifth, to the perfect consonants. And C to E is imperfect consonants. It's also stable. It's in the C major triad, but it wants to resolve down through the D, a passing tone, dissonance, and resolve to the C, perfect consonants, which is your most stable. Now if you play those in order, C, G, E, or C, G octave, show you on the keyboard. Those are your perfect consonants. C, G is a perfect consonant, and C, your octave, is a perfect consonant. So those are your most stable notes in the C triad. And then your E is an imperfect consonant. You can play it up here. I need both hands really to play it with the C and the bass. So if you listen to it, perfect consonants, dissonance. It wants to resolve up a half step to C, or move down in a descending melody to the sixth, which is an imperfect consonant. It's stable, but not as stable as the G. This is the most stable perfect consonants, your fifth, root fifth. It's like a home base. The fourth is dissonant. It's a half step below E. It wants to resolve down to E, which is an imperfect consonant. Stable, but wants to move through D, a passing tone, dissonant, to your tonic, your one chord. So if you just listen to that, so you get a sense that some of the notes have a tendency to want to move to other notes. The most specifically when they're half step apart, which B is the strongest one, the leading tone. And the F is a half step. Wants to resolve down. But if you remember that the 1, 5, and octave are your most stable, perfect consonants, and the 3 and the 6 are your imperfect consonants. Those notes are the most commonly used in melodies. Most melodies start off with a note from your your triad, C triad. So you have a C, E, G. But you can use A as a passing note or a neighboring note. All those notes will sound good because they're all consonants. They all have a stable sense about it. Perfect consonants means stable. You don't want to, doesn't have a tendency to move it anywhere. As now, if you play G major, yeah, the G is stable, but in the G major, it's considered unstable because it wants to resolve down back to D1. It's a dominant chord that wants to resolve to your 1, the C major, the tonic. And if you look at your notes, you have a B, the leading tone that wants to resolve up to a C, and you have a second dissonant that wants to resolve down to the 1, which is a perfect consonant. It can resolve to the third, but it's an imperfect consonant, so it's not as stable as resolving to the 1. Almost every melody ends back at 1. Sometimes they bounce, they skip from the second to your 7th, the leading tone, then to the 1. That's also very common. So melodies move in stepwise, or they skip. Skip of a third is more common. Stepwise, skip, stepwise, simple idea. So yeah, your 1 is your most stable, your 1/5 and octave is perfect consonants, your third is imperfect consonants, stable but not as stable as the 1 or the 5 or the octave, and your 6th is imperfect consonants because it wants to resolve down to the G, which is a perfect consonant. So C major is basically all stable notes. Your tonic is your most stable chord, and when you move to other chords, eventually you resolve back to your 1 chord, the tonic. There's thousands of songs written just the 1, 4, 5, 1. With melodies created and harmonized. I'll explain more about how melodies resolve, 2-note harmonies, blend in with different chords. The most dissonant is the 4th and the 7th. Resolves to C and E. If you invert these notes, put the F on top, you can hear the resolve. This is tension, dissonance, stable, perfect consonants, imperfect consonants. So the leading tone resolves up, and the dissonant 4th, half step above E, resolves down to the imperfect consonants, which is still stable. To the C major is surrounded by, it's a stable chord that's surrounded by dissonant notes, dissonant 2nd, dissonant 4th, and a dissonant 7th. which is the diminished chord actually, right? B, D, F is diminished, except I'm playing the B up here. The F, the fourth resolves down to the third, the second resolves to the one, and the leading tone, seventh, resolves up to the C. You can hear the resolve, the tension. And it resolves down. The F can resolve up to the G, which is a perfect consonance, but since it's a half step, depending if the melody is moving up, but this half step gives you a smoother transition. So stable. And that's what composers use to create tension. And resolve that tension. Yeah, and melodies are basically work around the same principle. Most melodies start on the one or your tonic. Still the third of the tonic to the fifth, third, goes to the A, which is a imperfect consonance. Uses F dissonant as a passing tone to your third imperfect consonants. Resolves to the one, leads to the one. So the third also eventually wants to go back to the one in the melody. C, perfect consonants. C, fifth, C. So there's your perfect consonants. Perfect consonants. It gives you a sense of stability. If I could use both hands, I would play C, G, C, E. Put it on strings. Let me focus in here. So basically I'm playing the perfect consonants, C, G, C, and then adding the imperfect consonant, E, on top. The note sounds better when they're spread out. If it just plays C, E, G, they're a little too close together. When you spread them out, see what I did there? I used the C. Then I went to a G with a D in the bass. Your melody went from E to D. And then I played a C major with an E in the bass. And I used A as a passing or neighboring tone. So there's your C. There's your neighbor tone. or a passing tone with a skip of a third. Yeah, so that's your dissonance and your perfect dissonance and all that good stuff. Hope you get something out of this. Any questions, just ask.